Hello, everybody. This is Jan Moray for this week's edition of Greet the Week, and I have my co-host with us, Mona Duncan. Hello,
Hello.
Mona. And we also have our fairly frequent visitor, Bob Hoagland. Thanks for joining us again, Bob.
My pleasure.
So, Mona, this week you've got the topic on, do we ever wish we can start over? So hey, I think we've all been there, right?
Right. Just want to dump everything and start over completely. And the thing of it is whenever you dump everything, you matter of fact, I was one time there was this, I was at a program and the person was talking about our dreams and expectations and all that kind of stuff. And just all of a sudden made the comment, said, for just a minute, think of all the things that are really frustrating you, that are angering you, that are pressing upon you, all of your to-do list, all this kind of stuff, and to just sit for a minute and just really imagine that everything is gone. It's just gone. All those frustrating people, all those demands, it's just gone. And then, how do you feel?
Yeah.
And it was just, it's like, oh, whoa.
I don't really want that to happen, right?
And then, after a few minutes, you get them all back. And initially, it's quite peaceful. Yeah. Oh, wow, good. I don't have that demand on me, and that person's not nagging me, and that disagreement, and then whenever you get it all back, it's just kind of, well, sometimes it can still be a little overpowering.
Yeah.
But there's a joy to it too.
There is. That's one of the things that I've started doing is, when somebody annoys me, especially somebody close to me, I think about, okay, how would I feel if this person were no longer around?
Right.
You really can appreciate, what that person means to you, and say, okay, maybe it's not so annoying.
Right.
Maybe I can put up with this a little better.
Yeah. And I picked up at a garage sale the other day the book about the prophet. Are you familiar with him?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and I've just been rereading it again because I've read it before, but I picked that one up, and he talks in there about the fact that, well, he's leaving the island, and the people are coming to him asking him to impart your wisdom to me, and he says the only wisdom I can impart to you is what is already stirring within your own soul. And then he says that, how parting is sweet sorrows. That's not the word that he used. He said it's not until you are leaving, it's not until you're going away, that the depth of how much this person or this community means to you until you're saying goodbye to it.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And sometimes it does good to just reflect on those things. And I was thinking also, whenever I put out the blurb, what we talk about today is Elon Musk, who is, the genius of Central Texas and SpaceX, just right down the road from us here. And he has received permission from the FCC or whatever, the Federal Communication thing, to do his own satellite that can do internet and Wi-Fi and all that kind of stuff. And it's going to be reasonable for everyone, and that can go to all third world countries so that knowledge can be expanded. And he's also talking about, having habitation on Mars.
Yeah, right.
So we'll go there. And just the thought of, how would you start a new civilization? What kind of a government would we put on it? What kind of this? If we could just start it, what is our ideals in this world? What are our expectations of what would be the perfect world? Dr. Glasser says that we have a quality world within our own brain. And then we spend our life trying to bring it into reality. And of course, unfortunately, in trying to bring our quality world pictures into reality, more than we may want to ever admit, we use control.
Yeah.
And the more I think about it, that our quality world becomes disqualified whenever we are disappointed in what we expect.
Yeah.
I don't love the person anymore. I don't, I'm out of here. I don't love them anymore. And is it really not love, or is it expectations disappointed?
Disappointment. Yeah. It really makes you stop and think about it, because we go with our emotion, and and I mean, like you always say, you need to pause before you make that big decision. And so many times we don't. We just have the emotion, and we think we need to react to that instead of pausing and thinking about it and really think about what would it be like if I were to leave.
Right, right, right. And what can those, who would I be if I didn't have those expectations?
Mm-hmm.
Kind of just write them down. What is it I'm expecting of my coworkers? What is it I'm expecting of Mondays? What is it am I expecting of Fridays?
And is it really reasonable to expect that?
Yeah. And how quickly do we say, well, I don't expect anything. Oh, I don't have
We
any.
really are.
And when we get honest with ourselves that we really are, that we really do.
Yeah.
We're going on vacation. What do you expect of this vacation? Well, nothing. And then, well, yeah, why am I packing 3 books to read if I don't expect anything? And why do I have these tickets to this? And you really begin to think that, yeah, I do expect some time to, and expect some things and expect the people that is vacationing with us to participate in all of these things that we're doing,
And they're going to want to do what I want to do, right? All those
right,
things.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so it is, and then the governing of it, is it going to be of the people, for the people, by the people? And how's that work out?
A memory for me, long time ago, when my kids were young, I took them to Disney World, and it was just me and the 2 of them. And I think my daughter was 5 and my son was 8. And when I go on a trip, I do all kinds of stuff. And I had all these things planned. We're going to Epcot, we were going to Disney World, we were, do all the stuff, and every day we're going to do something different. Well, all they wanted to do was to sit by the pool. And I'm going, well, we didn't come all this way to sit by the pool. And I really struggled with that. And, and this was before I knew choice theory too. And I was like, oh, okay, this trip is for them. If I really had to work hard to allow them to do what they wanted, because in the back of my mind is I spent all this money to go over here and we're just sitting by the pool where there's all these things we can go see. But yeah, we do have expectations. And if you would have asked me, I probably would have said, no, I don't have any expectations. We're just going to go have a good time. So.
Right, because you had it all planned out.
I did. But I didn't,
would be for the good of everyone
about it. I didn't have any input from them on what they wanted to do. I thought they were going to want to do what I wanted to do.
Right. And then I wound up the little blurb, saying that we would look at this week as to how we heal ourselves.
Yeah.
And, how do we? And so as the prophet said, I can share with you only what is already ruminating within your own soul. And that is, we know deep down inside, our body knows what we need to heal.
Mm-hmm.
We know that we need to rethink, to think and rethink, that we need to maybe look and see it, are we expecting things of ourselves even that, in our own quality world, I'm going to do this, be this, have this. And yet, are we so stressed? My definition of stress is living outside of our resources. Yeah. And are we so stressed is because we're buying more and doing more and committing ourselves to more than we have the time, the energy, the talents, and so forth to do. And so we have to take care of us. We have to take care of our body. We have to take care of having enough movement so that we can, keep our joints oiled enough to be able to move. But we need to take care of sleep. And if we'll listen to our body, it'll tell us what to do and it'll tell us what we need. So what are some of the things that your body tells you on occasion that maybe you don't heed or listen to? Or maybe we need to start off with, what does it tell us that we do heed or listen to?
Yeah. Well, sometimes it tells me that I need to go and do something. Because when I'm sitting around in the house, just on the computer and stuff, I can feel my mood drop. And I believe that is a message saying, go and do some kind of activity.
Right. Just get up and move, walk around, change, go outside, do something.
Right. Go out in the sunshine.
For me, sometimes it's just the very simple hunger thing. And if I'm tired and hungry, I get that, what do you call it, hangry?
Hangry.
And it's not every time, but I can all of a sudden start feeling the physiology kicking in, and you think you can postpone some of this stuff, and your body will tell you.
Mm-hmm. And what about those times that we're searching through the cabinets wanting something, but we don't even know what we want?
Right.
Because we think we're hungry, and it's maybe not a hunger for whatever's in the cabinet.
Right.
Or it's boredom. I don't really have anything exciting to do right now. Oh, why don't I go grab something to eat? And then you're looking through the cabinet and saying, well, what do I feel like? Well, I don't really feel like anything.
Right. And so how do we, what can we do in a moment like that? How can we, we're already aware of it, that we need to let ourselves know that we're aware of it.
Mm-hmm.
That I'm wanting something, I'm searching for something, but it's not here. There was one time I thought those cookies were good, and they may be again another time, but today that's just not what it is. It's going to, whatever it is I'm hungry for, whatever it is I'm wanting.
To switch back to kind of yours and Jan's first comments, I think too about not just having one behavior, but several behaviors. Sometimes reading something or looking at some quotes will help. Sometimes it is getting out of the house, as Jan shared. Sometimes it's just getting up away from the computer. Sometimes, there are things, but I don't know that we always really think of those as the strategies to deal with the upset or the little out of balance stuff early enough on.
Yeah, and sometimes it's just sitting with it.
Mm-hmm.
It's just sitting with that emotion, with that frustration, with that not understanding. It's just sitting with it so that our internal wisdom can come forward.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
rather than looking for a quick fix.
Mm-hmm. What's it teaching me? What's it telling me?
Right. What am I seeing that I'm not seeing? Where does that wisdom come from? Where does that, and how do we learn? And
along those lines, sometimes we always want to say what's missing, but sometimes it's what do we have that we don't want?
Or that we're not appreciating.
Yeah, it could be that. It could also be that we've got something on our plate we really didn't intend to do, but we just said yes, or some of those things like you were talking about earlier.
Right. And don't ever say yes, I'll do something just to be liked. And all the time we'll do it. Well, they won't like me if I don't do this. They want me on the committee saying they really like me. No, they just want you to do the job. And maybe because they like you, maybe because you have the talent for it. I'm not saying that's not the truth. I'm saying that sometimes we put more weight onto something than is really there.
We put more importance on ourselves than on what's being asked of us. And how could I dare say no? They need me.
They do.
Right.
Or I feel good that they asked me.
Sure.
Yeah. And back to win friends and influence people. You can do that more by asking someone to help you. And yet again, how often do we need help that we will not ask someone to help us?
Right, exactly. Yeah.
It's easy to ask for help when it's easy.
Well, the interesting thing about asking for help is a lot of times we're reluctant to ask for help, but most people, when you ask them, they're more than happy to comply and to do something. And I think that's the message that we need to get out is it's good to ask for help, because usually the recipient of that request is more than eager to do it. It's not always that way, but a lot of times they are willing to, especially if it's a personal thing when you're struggling with something.
And how many times have you helped somebody and then you felt better anyway?
Right.
It's not like it's just a win-lose. It's a win-win.
It is.
Right.
So I guess you can make somebody's day. Ask them to help you. Huh?
Even yesterday, something as simple as this, and I honestly, it's going to sound like it the way I'm telling the story now, but it had nothing to do with me. In Oklahoma City, the United system was down for quite a while. So the poor gate agents, baggage handlers, everything are doing everything by hand. They're dealing with all these people with, in my case, a 2-hour time zone delay. And so when I was finally boarding, one of the gate agents had happened to go down, and she was going back up. And I just said, thanks for staying so calm and professional through all of this. And she took another step or two, and she turned around and said, oh, thank you, thank you. But, they're going through all of that. And we always want to stay in ourselves. And I was just at that point, there was nothing I could do. We were late anyway.
Yeah.
And there were other times I would do it entirely out of selfish reasons. But in that one moment, it was, she needs some cheer up here.
Right. And you never know what you do, what you say impacts someone else. Mm-hmm. Again, either for the positive or for the negative. Mm-hmm. And it's being aware of how we all do need each other. We need little words of encouragement. We need words of correction too. And how do we take either or?
And as hard as it is sometimes, the one thing we have control over is doing something for somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
Even when we're down.
To get into the habit of whenever you feel something, you think something positive about somebody else, to let them know about it. Don't just keep it in your head. Don't just keep it to yourself. Tell that person, because that always helps someone, to feel good when you give them a compliment.
Right, and it's also maybe this is just my opinion, but I think it's better to say I think you are rather than saying you are.
Mm. Yeah.
Because if you just you are and they don't believe it, guess what?
They're gonna
they're not gonna receive it.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think you're doing such a good job in handling this stressful situation. They may think you're crazy as a loon, but she thinks that. And it just does something. It just does something.
Yeah.
That can be very uplifting. To think on it later. Well, maybe I did handle that in a really non-pressure way, that although I felt like I was just being so pressured, maybe it wasn't coming across as negatively as I was thinking it might have.
Mm-hmm. Good point.
And then being aware of it ourselves, how that. So let's talk more about our quality world, the things that we want to keep and things that we want to just, what is in our world that may be so frustrating that we want to get rid of. What about stuff?
Stuff. We have a lot of stuff.
And how difficult is it to get rid of stuff?
It is difficult. Couple of things that have helped me to get rid of stuff. First one was when I emptied out my parents' house after they passed away, and I had to get it ready to sell. And I went through box after box and rooms and drawers, and I'm like, oh my God, how did they keep all this stuff? And I said, I'm never going to buy anything again. And then when we remodeled our house, we had to move out, and we were moving back in. We had 3 pods worth of stuff. And as the movers were bringing everything back into the house, and we had no more place for them to put the boxes, my husband and I are looking at each other and going, we've got way too much stuff. And so
right.
Decided we're in purge mode.
Right.
I don't need any more gifts. I don't need anybody to buy me anything. It's paring down and getting rid of stuff.
Right. And it's just
I wish I had $1 for every time we said for everything we buy, we're going to get rid of something and then didn't do it.
Yeah. And I mean, you never know when you're like that. Getting older, I don't want my daughter to go through all this stuff that I have to.
That's what I told my kids. I said, I'm not going to make you do what my parents did to me. I'm going to try to get rid of it all. My husband and I have an age at which we've decided we're going to downsize and move out of the house and move into a retirement of community or something, or assisted living or something like that. And yeah.
Yeah, and what's real hard for me is books, is getting rid of books, because they're my friend. They've just become a part of me. Yeah. And I often want to go back to them and see. And yet, if it really is a part of you, then it is a part of you. And that's the thing that I'm trying to do with all of life, is that sometimes we don't know how much something means to us until we're ready to get rid of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then look at what was the meaning. And if the meaning is there, we don't have to still hold on to the stuff.
Mhm.
I've seen on things like Hoarders and stuff where if something's really important, even to have people take a picture of it to enhance that memory and the meaning that you're talking about, but not have to keep the item itself.
Exactly, because you can go back to that. I mean, you just look at those pictures. I have been going through pictures lately too, and it'll take you back.
Mhm.
My pictures aren't in album. Well, some are, but not all are. And sometimes I think, well, you're a real organized person. Get in there and make these into an album and all this. And then I think, no, because memories are sporadic. And the memory will take you back there whenever you just see something that remind you of it. And it's just living life in the moment. In the moment.
Some of the thing with stuff, I'm sitting here looking at a second monitor and a laptop. And I think, well, it is a lot of stuff, but for my work, I kind of need it. And it's still just a convenience because other people do their work on one computer or one screen. So a lot of it comes back to what does that stuff do for you? I have 4 guitars. I know people that have 20 and 30. Do you really use them, and what do they mean? And
Right.
I wish you hadn't brought this subject up.
So now you're going to start purging.
I hope so.
Yeah.
But it does. It's a really good reflection. I mean, this topic really,
And what is it doing for you to keep buying this stuff? I mean, why do you need 20 guitars? What is possessing you?
What insecurity is there?
Yeah. That you feel like you need to buy more.
Mm-hmm.
When we really get into, and I know I have quit buying so much stuff, period, all the way across the board, since I've got my new mantra of I'm tired of cute. Because it was so cute. Oh, it's a cute dress. That's a cute this. Oh, well, what? Oh, that's a great guitar. That's a good book. I'm tired of that. I'm just tired of it.
Yeah.
And those things can keep us down. And the more weight we have on us emotionally, physically, weight is in not healthy amount of what we're carrying around. The more weight we have on us, W-E-I-G-H-T, the more we have a tendency to wait on doing anything else, W-A-I-T.
Mm.
And it's getting rid of all that stuff and having just that little bag that you can pick up, your to-go bag, and pick it up and go.
I keep going back to your question of just the whole topic about inequality world and if we went to Mars and all that kind of stuff and blah, blah, blah. And what's interesting to me is I think one of the most important characteristics to me would be exactly what we're doing. Sharing perceptions. Nobody's right or wrong. It's let's just listen. We'll process it. We'll think about it. And, if you have a great idea, well, that's really interesting. I hadn't thought of it that way. And to me, I mean, I've been on a couple committees like that, and they're just a joy to be on. You may get frustrated with where you're going and how you get there, but And
if it works for you, take it. And if it don't, bless it and leave it.
Right.
If it works for someone else, then that's fine and dandy.
But that's why I come to this conversation, pretty regularly, is because I can most of the time just listen, and you guys have, really good ideas, and it just helps me think and reflect. And when do we take the time without planning it to think and reflect?
Yeah.
Right.
We just
And
get
what is
caught up into our day-to-day stuff and all the demands of our families and everything else that's going on around us that we don't sit back and reflect about, hey, what am I doing? Why am I doing it?
Yeah. And, what is it that's fun for us? I know even this afternoon, it's chilly here. The cool front's still here. But I'm going to get a jacket on and an old pair of pants and go out and literally sit on the ground and reweed my flower garden one portion of it, so I can put down so I can put down some mulch so that it'll do what mulch is supposed to do. And you know what? When I am doing that, I'm doing it and I'm loving it, but my mind is just everywhere.
Uh-huh.
And it's just free to think and to make decisions. And that is something I personally need. I need to do that. And you have to make time to do those things.
Yeah.
Yeah, most of us really do.
Yeah.
And when we have, going back to what's in our quality world, you know, are we in our own quality world? And I mean literally in our quality world. Because, you know, we cannot see ourselves. As a baby, you know, we began to explore our hand and our foot, and somehow we got the connection that this is me and that is you. But then as we go on through life, we don't know ourselves. Even when we look in the mirror, we don't know it. We get a picture back. Oh, that's not me. That's not what I think I look like. And so it's putting us in our quality world and doing what is good for us. And the fact that we are needy, and it's okay to be needy, and it's okay to have those needs met within reason.
Yeah.
And if they're not met, that's when we really go out of being reasonable. That's when we really go into the controlling everyone else and everything else, even to, you know, writing the script for what someone's supposed to say. And it's looking at our quality world and how ours can be quality without irritating, frustrating, dequalifying someone else's. And that is time that, you know, that gives pause to think about it.
Yeah, it does. It does.
To really think. So that we can cohabitate on planet Earth and appreciate one another. Really appreciate one another.
So I'm thinking about, you're saying, are we in our own quality world? And then you go back to say that we're not supposed to do anything to anybody else so they can't get their needs met. And so if we're doing that, then can we not be in our quality world and do that at the same time?
Oh, repeat that, please.
Okay, so you asked the question whether we are in our own quality worlds.
Right.
Okay, and then a couple paragraphs later, talking about how when we're getting our own needs met, to make sure that we're not keeping other people from getting their needs met.
Right.
So would we do that if we are not in our own quality worlds?
Well, we are selfish individuals, and if you don't take care of self, then there's something definitely wrong.
Okay.
You know?
So you're saying we're not taking care of ourselves when we are keeping other people from getting their needs met.
I don't know what I'm saying.
Okay.
I'm throwing this out for
It's like,
passion.
it's kind of like, it's kind of like what you're saying is that we are in our own quality world, but we get to points where we don't pay any attention to our pictures, and we just kind of start doing things. We're not satisfied, and then we start taking it out on other people, controlling other people, et cetera, et cetera.
Right. And we try
couldn't satisfy our needs if we weren't in our own quality world. But exactly what you said, we many times don't pay attention to our own pictures.
Right.
Or take care of our self pictures.
Okay, so since we're not taking care of, paying attention to our own pictures, we're doing things that are not in our quality world and messing everybody else's life too, because we're miserable, so we're going to make everybody miserable as well.
Right. And I mean, there's a couple of clients in my life that just is that he has such a complaint against her, and she has such a complaint against him. And you know what? The complaints are the same.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they're exactly the same. And if he would just do what she says, and if she would just do what he says, everything would be fine, because she has written the script for his life, and he has written the script for her life.
So how do you decide which one is right?
Well, they both have an element of of correctness to it. And, you know, because you can only take care of what you can take care of about you.
Mhm.
You know, I may have an example of that. When I was teaching high school, I had several students and they would say, well, I'm not going to get good grades. That's what my parents want.
Oh, right.
But what do you want? Well, do you want to be educated? Do you want to be able to do these things? Do you want to graduate? Well, of course I do, but that they're pushing me. Well, how is what they want any different than what you want? But
You
we
don't want to
shift in
admit
this
that
thing
you want
of,
what they want.
yeah, and it feels like you're controlled if somebody else is telling you what to do, even when you want the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had that conflict with my daughter, that exact conflict. And I finally had to step back and say, whose life are you affecting by doing this? I mean, I'm going to be fine.
Yeah.
Like that, but but she did turn things around. So
Yeah.
but
Well,
that's what happens when you get into those power struggles, because you're fighting for the power. But when you step back, like you say, and really take a look at, well, what's really going on here? What do you want?
And you've gone right back to the topic without, just flat out saying it. But how do you take care of yourself when you get into that conflict? Your best behavior was to say, I don't have control of this. I'm not doing myself any good. And that's taking care of yourself.
exactly.
You could have gone for a year continuing to argue and fight with her.
Yeah.
And it's to realize that, the solution is not always right there, and it doesn't always happen then. That sometimes it's in hindsight. Hindsight is better than foresight, they say.
Yeah.
And it is realizing that, and in the movie Hidden Figures,
Mm-hmm.
Katherine Johnson and the two others, they were Black employees working in the space industry. And Katherine had this magnificent mind, could figure out even faster than computers, once computers were invented several years later. And to know that go, no-go point in, putting our astronauts out of space and bringing them back in, the go, the no-go, and how it had to be just precise and recalculated. But because of her, a multitude of things, we could point at one thing, race, female, whatever, education. We could point at a lot of things. But the bottom line is that the things that we point at are not all that important. That's what keeps us from having this quality world with ourselves and or with others even. And in last week's Sunday parade, they had interviewed Katherine. And she said that even as a child, her parents could see how intelligent she was and how she could figure things out with numbers and see all these hidden figures and things and how they fit together to make this, a triangle or whatever. And her dad had always told her, he said, I want you to always know that you are not better than anyone.
Mm-hmm.
But I also want you to know that there's no one better than you. And to me, that's it. That's it. That no matter what our status in life is, no matter if we're or if we're populating Mars, or if we're looking at the neighborhood that we live in, or our world in general, and the fact that, there's a lot of political issues worldwide and all the United Nations and everybody working together and everything, there can be a commonality whenever we see that and hear it and trust it and understand it. And
just to look for it.
Many moons later, they've named a building at NASA down, the space after Katherine Johnson.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it is looking at what kind of a legacy do we want left behind. It may not be appreciated until
Until much later.
Are you saying we're all going to get buildings named after us?
Well, probably.
You know, to go back to the theme, and I know not everyone that watches this will know me, but I came into this video call in a pretty darn good mood today. Wasn't feeling terribly focused, but I was in a pretty good mood. And now I'm in a really good mood.
Well, all right.
And it's just because, you know, you provide this, I don't want to say outlet, but you provide this avenue for people to listen, think, reflect, and get a chuckle here and there.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, sometimes it's not these huge things that keep us healthy. It's you know, just having somebody to bounce something off of that isn't going to judge you. So I greatly appreciate what the two of you do.
Well, thanks.
Help us to rethink. So in wrapping up, we were looking at, you know, if we were repopulating another world, what kind of a world would we want to help create? Well, we have that opportunity within our own household, within our own being. And what kind of a person do we want to be so that others could begin to emulate us? And maybe they are emulating us, and that may be why it's making us so irritated. And it's getting honest with that and accepting that. And, you know, back to the golden rule, do unto others as you'd have them do unto you. Back to the karma that whatever we give is exactly what life gives back to us.
So we can start over.
It is knowing that, understanding that, and learning to be okay with that.
All right. Well, thanks, Mona. Thank you for that today. Give us something to think about. Thanks, Bob, for joining. And for our guest, thanks, everybody, on the replay. And we hope to see you next week on Greet the Week.
Sounds good. Thanks. Have a great one.
Thank you.